don't understand why people trip up so much about sex. I understand the culture has taken it and distorted it. The media has taken it, and people have taken it, and they have made a mockery of it. The devil has taken it and made it something totally different than what it actually is. But if we got back to the grassroots level, we'd all be sitting here naked and feel no shame. Sex wouldn't be something that would be, ooh, that's private, that's ooh. We've bought into this secrecy of sex. We have somehow taken the idea of purity and equated it to silence. And I think one of the worst things that you could do as a parent is to be silent on this issue with your children. Silence does not equal purity. God has this amazing and creative love for us. And to understand sex is not just for procreation, although that's a primary aspect of it. God has given us enjoyment capabilities when it comes to this, no matter what previous leaders have said. People in and out of the church in the past have said some really interesting things about sex. Many of you have heard of Augustine. He said, sex is okay, but passion and desire were sins. Thomas Aquinas said, as long as sex was not enjoyed, then marriage was okay. That's a good one. Martin Luther even said this, intercourse is never without sin, but God excuses it by his grace because the estate of marriage is his work. Even Martin Luther. And I don't want to slam leaders of the past. I want to tell you, it's just crazy to think that intimacy, sexual intercourse, becoming one flesh is the highest bond of intimacy that two human beings can have. And God designed it. He created it. This was his idea. So that's either going to shatter your view of God or make you go, God's pretty cool. God's pretty creative. Ephesians 5 verse 31 on the screen, the two will become one flesh. Paul is talking here. He says, two becoming one flesh, sex. This is a profound mystery, but I'm talking about Christ and the church. However, each one of you must also love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Our sexual union is a picture of our oneness with Christ. Weird, I understand. But it's intended to be enjoyed between two healthy, married adults. It's not to be used as a weapon. It's not to be neglected. And it's not to be avoided in a marriage relationship. Now in your Bibles, 1 Corinthians chapter 7, beginning with verse 1. It says, now for the matters you wrote about. This is Paul talking to the church in Corinth. It is good for a man not to marry. But since there is so much immorality, each man should have his own wife and each woman her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife. We're talking about sex here, baby. And woman to her, blah, blah, blah. And likewise the wife to her husband, verse 4. The wife's body does not belong to her alone, but also to her what? In the same way the husband's body does not belong to him alone, but also to his. Do not deprive each other unless they do something really stupid. No. Verse 5, do not deprive each other except by, what's the word? Mutual consent, and for a time so that you may devote yourselves to, what's the word? Prayer. Then come together again so that Satan will not tempt you because of your lack of self-control. Paul is writing a letter to Las Vegas of the day. He's writing to Corinth. He's writing to a big city with big sins, and he says, listen, there is a time for abstaining from sex in a marriage. But it's never done by an individual person that comes along and says, oh yeah, you ain't getting none of this. That's not it at all. It's a mutual thing that the two of you decide to do. And what would be the reasoning behind the two of you in a marriage relationship saying, let's not have sex? Prayer. Odd. I think if we took a survey, how many of you couples have got together and said, hey, let's stop having sex so that we can really pray more? There probably wouldn't be very many hands go up. Maybe a few of you. But that's the only time that you cut each other off, so to speak. It's a mutual decision. And then get back together because of your lack of self-control, Paul says to this church.